I like the first one better. Etrian Odyssey II, Heroes of Lagarde, the sequel of the ever-so-great dungeon crawler Etrian Odyssey. It's one of the 3 entries that were revived with the HD Remaster collection that came out in 2023 for the Nintendo Switch, but it was originally released back in 2008 for the one and only Nintendo DS. Kazuya Nino, who was the director of the first Etrian Odyssey, was not involved with the sequel. The role was given to the first game's writer Shigeo Komori, who would later go on to be the series' main director. Just like in the first game, we're brought to the guild to create a party of 5 adventurers. And if you played Etrian Odyssey I, you'll feel right at home, because the class roster is the exact same, with a few additions. We still got the survivalist, the protector, the medic, the dark hunter.
My body is ready.
The Hexer, the Troubadour, the Ronin, and the one whose name I can never get right, the
Landsnecht.
Along with them, we now have access to the Gunner, the Warmagus, and the Beast. It sucks. Okay, not completely. Every class has their pros and cons, such as the Troubadour being a great buffer but a useless attacker, or the Gunner having low defense in exchange for a high damage output. The only thing you need to be careful about is having a well-balanced party, except this Etrian Odyssey is what we call an unbalanced mess. So the strongest class combo is so strong that everything else feels weak compared to it. But I'll keep this for later. Now that our party is complete, we can head towards the Yggdrasil labyrinth to start our adventure. Once we're there, a guard immediately stops us and demands that we pass the test before going any further. He'll bring us to a random place on the first floor, and then we just need to find our way back to the entrance on our own. Seems simple, right? Hahaha. Wrong.
Hi, how are you?
I feel violated. So, we passed the test, and now we are free to enjoy the main selling point of this franchise, the exploration. Etrian Odyssey is what we call a dungeon crawler. Like the name suggests, you'll quite literally crawl your way through a dungeon, finding different kind of enemies, and all of that generally with a first-person view of your surrounding. Here, unlike any modern dungeon crawler, you have to create your own maps as you explore the different floors of the labyrinth by using the dynamic menu you see here. You can use this to draw the walls, the tiles, and to place markers such as doors, gathering points, or brief notes to make your life easier while navigating through Yggdrasil. The satisfaction you feel when completely mapping a floor never gets old. The only downside is that, when playing on the TV, it can become really annoying to always stop what you're doing to draw stuff, especially when there's moving platforms or tiles. Holy duck, is it annoying to have to slowly bring the correct marker to the correct tile before drawing every fucking wall, every fucking step of the way.
This is cancer.
It was originally thought for the DS and its touchscreens, which allowed a more dynamic experience, unhindered by slow inputs. So keep in mind that it's obviously not the mechanic, but rather the hardware that is at fault here. To help with that, as always, even if it's kinda fine in handheld mode, on a TV I really suggest putting the map drawing on full auto to have both the tiles and the walls being drawn as you walk, so you only have to deal with putting down markers. Yggdrasil is divided in 6 stratoms, 5 for the main quest and 1 for post-game. Each of them has 5 floors, with their own distinct environments, gimmicks, and challenges you'll need to take before accessing the next stratum. The Frozen Grounds have ice that slides you in a direction, Auburn Thicket has damaging tiles that you always ignore until you realize you're on 1 fucking health, and Petal Bridge has these holes that I keep falling into because I don't see them, god damn it! To make things a bit more interesting, the devs created events for us to find while we explore. These events have unique dialogues and can either be unexpected lifesavers or the single most sadistic and horrible trap a developer has ever put in a game. Once we got enough materials and are half dead from all the exploration, we can head back to the town to rest and manage our equipment. First, we can head to the inn to take a power nap to replenish our health and save our progress, and do not forget to save! I will never shut up about that. You are gonna die and you are gonna cry. If we have any dead party members, we can go to the apothecary to revive them, and unlike Etrian Odyssey I, we can no longer buy healing items here. Now, everything we need is at the only local shop in town, which is managed by a child, might I add. I didn't think it was possible to violate both the anti-child labor law and the antitrust law in one go, but whatever. Here we can sell materials to unlock stronger equipment and also buy the necessary items to survive in Yggdrasil, like the Ariadne threads, which is the only item you have to instantly exit the labyrinth safely. safely. However, your inventory has limited space, so you can't just stack them and be done with it. So just remember to take one when you head out. Telos was unaware that not taking a second one for backup will come to bite him in the ass real fast. We can also take on side quests at the bar, which by the way don't grant any XP upon completion. And lastly, we have the HQ, that I personally like to call the plot exposition room, because that's its only reason to exist. That and having a bestiary, I guess. The plot is clearly not the main focus here, but it doesn't mean the game has nothing to tell. It's genuinely impressive how much emotion the devs were able to convey through the few NPCs there are, given how little time you actually spend with them. Shout out to the War Magus Artelinde and the old gunner, Der Freischütz, for having Okay, I just wanted to say his name out loud. Der Freischütz! The main thing you'll have to deal with when exploring, beside the random encounters, are the FOEs, which stands for fucking obnoxious enemies. They're powerful opponents whose role is to follow you around as you explore in hope of cornering you somewhere to utterly destroy your bottom. Some can float above obstacles, some are only active at night, and others are literally invisible and don't show up on your map.
Hello, motherfucker.
They all have patterns that you can and have to exploit in order to avoid confrontation. If you value your save file and your sanity, you'll quickly come to understand that you do not want to fuck around long enough for one to get you. At least, even if you do end up cornered, don't worry. That's where the Ariadne thread we bought earlier come in handy. As you can see here, it looks like I'm about to get pegged, but thankfully, I just need to use my thread. So just remember to take one when you head out. Please be gentle. The combat system is pretty standard. It's similar to what you can find in other RPGs, with the exception of the binding system, which, for the pleasure of every BDSM enjoyer, allows you to bind the enemy's head, arms, or legs to keep them from using certain skills. Every class has unique skills you can unlock or upgrade with the custom points a character acquires with every level. And if you messed up your skill points allocation, there's always the option to rest at the guild to reallocate everything in exchange for 5 levels, and holy shit is that an expensive price though. Or you have the option to retire to get a new character with a new class and better stats in exchange for one of your party members. So you can have a lot of fun experimenting different builds on different characters. But, like I said earlier, this game is an unbalanced mess. First of all, status ailments are busted. You're gonna die more times than you can count to these poison spell spamming butterflies, or these things that keep casting sleep on my party. However, the Hexer class can actually cast such spells. So if you want to make your life easier, just inflict poison onto monsters and witness the effects of Etrian Odyssey's version of the Black Plague. And if that's not enough, select the Revenge skill, which inflicts more damage proportionally to the amount of HP lost. Then pair it with the Troubadour's ability to increase everyone's max HP, and there you go! You now have a walking nuke that can 3-shots FOEs and transform what are normally ridiculously hard bosses into absolute jokes.
I'm dying.
By the way, one of the most annoying things about Etrian Odyssey 1 was the fact that there was no way to quickly climb the already explored floors of a stratum. Meaning, if you were on the 14th floor and decided to go back to town, you had to go all the way back from the 10th floor back to the 14th before resuming your exploration. Even with the shortcuts, it was a huge pain in the ass and made getting to the bosses horrible since you'd always lose your precious resources before getting there. But now, at long last, we have a way to skip floors. Thank you. As usual, at the start of every stratum, you'll see a geomagnetic field that serves as a quick travel point between the town and the labyrinth. What's new are the geomagnetic poles that can sometimes be found on the floor, and, upon activation, they'll grant you the same benefits as the geomagnetic fields. It's true that only one can be activated at a time, but finally, we no longer have to walk for 5 minutes every time we die. Unless you're blind, you'll quickly see that each stratum represents a season. The Ancient Forest is summer, Auburn Thicket represents autumn, the Frozen Grounds winter, Petal Bridge spring, and the Heavenly Keep is Cancer. Having this main theme linking the different stratums together is a pretty nice way to have diversity while creating a sense of progression and continuity between them, along with a very unique ambience. There is something melancholic and lonely about this labyrinth, more than in the other games of the franchise in my opinion. Yet, it also feels oddly soothing. The soundtrack plays a huge role in this. Yuzo Koshiro, who did Etrian Odyssey I's musics, also worked on this game, and truly his talent is nothing if not exceptional. I could yap for an hour to explain why his work is so great, but fuck it simply is. Get a load of this. I'd make love to these musics if I could. You'll be happy to know that one of my main complaints about Etrian Odyssey I has been patched for this game. They toned it down with the enemy recycling, so the bestiary is much less repetitive. It's not perfect, but it's an upgrade for sure. Other than this, the combat still gets a bit boring after a while though, since you can just use the same strategy for nearly every encounter, especially if you have that specific hexer setup I talked about. But don't take me wrong, you're still gonna have a hard time.
Surprise, motherfucker.
In any case, Etrian Odyssey II could be summed up to "It's the first game but better." Don't know why I took that voice there. While it's a dumb statement because it's like saying Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow exists, so Aria of Sorrow sucks, it is true that it is very similar to the first game without many of the annoying sides. There's more variety overall, the quests are more interesting, at least in my humble opinion, the NPCs have a bit more screen time, and the quality of life is much better. This last point might not seem so blatant with the remaster, but keep in mind that on the DS back in 2008, many small features that Etrian Odyssey I completely overlooked were added with this sequel. Like in the first game, you couldn't even rename a character, which sounds like such a basic feature, but no, someone had to think about it, and that's why it was added later, just like the strafing mechanic. Or just like how we had to wait until this remaster to be able to choose the appearance we want for a character instead of it being tied to their class. So yeah, as you can see, my survivalist is still a troubadour in disguise.
Gotcha, bitch.
Well, hello there. I hope you enjoyed the video. If that's the case, don't hesitate to subscribe, it's always appreciated. And you can always leave your comment down below to share your most traumatic memory about this game. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go get lost in a castle. Der Freischütz!